Hi, welcome to this Sensolus webinar about how world's biggest manufacturers manage their assets. My name is Pieter Jan and I'll be your host for today. We have a lot to talk about, so sit back but do not relax. I have two guests in this webinar. Christophe, welcome, CEO at Sensolus, and we have Steven, engineering at Sensolus. This is our agenda for today, gentlemen. Of course, we have a short intro. Then Christophe will talk about the 3 challenges in industrial manufacturing. And then we do a deep dive in 3 use cases. We have Alstom, Vaillant Group, and Airbus coming up. First, Christophe, I give you 30 seconds to bring the elevator pitch of Sensolus. Time is ticking, let's go.
Okay, thanks. Industrial manufacturing, you can imagine a lot of non-powered assets everywhere, components, pallets. They all have to come together at the right time to be very competitive. What we do, we bring visibility on them. So you know where they are, how they are used, what are the flows, so actually to make these things all come together. We do this for big manufacturers. We manage 1 million of those assets in the market, and we do it for Airbus and alikes.
Ping, we're there. So thanks, Christophe. Let's do a short fact check on your pitch. We have 1 million connected assets, so
correct.
Quite a lot. We have a bit more even. We have more than 500 clients worldwide. More than 15 years of experience and more than 60 partners who are supporting us over the globe. At Sensolus, we focus on a simple, secure and reliable solution. Of course, we often explain it with 3 simple steps. So we start on the right, we have smart hardware we will install. We have visibility on the platform, in an app or in the systems of our clients. And of course, we bring ROI, return on investment, impact we make in the organization. These 3 steps will come back during the presentation of the use case. So Steven and Christophe will explain a bit more how that actually works. But before that, Christophe, we wanted to bring this picture, and I see a lot of cars, but what are we looking at?
Yeah, that's a typical yard management case. And it was actually just after the pandemic hit, we had a lot of our customers who had a lot of supply chain problems in industrial manufacturing. So they had a lot of components not being at the time they have to be. So they could not finish those products in the end. That process, they could not finish it up. So what happens, all those semi-finished cars, even if it's only 1% not finished, get on a yard, but then suddenly the part is in and they have to retrieve that car back to actually continue the production. So we help them with something very simple, very reliable. They just put one of our trackers inside those cars, they put it on the yard, no infrastructure, and the time they need the car, they just find it back and operations are not stopping. So it really reflects how temporary, after pandemic, we really solved a very local, let's say, supply chain problem.
All right, solving the complexity chaos we see on the picture done by asset tracking. Now, 3 challenges in industrial manufacturing you pointed out. First one being doing more with less. Then we have the RTPs, the returnable transport packaging, and then visibility and data. Talking about the first one, doing more with less, what is the trend?
Yeah, I mentioned already in the elevator pitch, it's all about those processes, about having all those different steps, discrete steps, all those parts which are everywhere. In the end, if you want to be competitive, you have to make sure everything gets aligned perfectly. Everything needs to be at the right spot at the right time. And then you actually do more with less because it's your competitive advantage today in the market if you optimize that whole chain. So that's really the first step.
All right.
Returnable transport packaging. A lot think this is purely for the sustainability, but there is much more behind that. Because if you're in that process, that idea of all those discrete steps, the more you can standardize, the more you can make it really at like Lego blocks in a process, the better you can optimize that process. So why returnable transport packaging? Of course for sustainability, but also for quality, also for predictability, and making sure you can go much deeper in that automation.
All right.
Finally, data, visibility. If you have all this, it's not only on your side, it's on your different sites, it's beyond your sites, at your subcontractors, maybe even at your customer. Having that visibility is really key. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And this is true in manufacturing. The more you have control over your whole end-to-end process, the more competitive you will be in the end.
All right. Let's apply your learnings, I would call them, to some use cases. And Steven, we brought Alstom with us. Maybe a short introduction on Alstom. What do they do? Where do they operate?
Well, the case we're covering with Alstom is a train manufacturing company. Well, Alstom produces a lot of other things, but this specific flow is all about trains. And actually, I like this use case very much, and it's because of two reasons. And reason number one is, as Christophe already explained, this is really a classic senseless problem of somebody having a distributed supply chain. They have multiple of their own sites. One of these sites is very nearby, it's in Bruges.
For example, this is a picture of one of these sites to give an idea.
Exactly, right. What you see is a lot of goods, and these goods are traveling between those sites, some of their own site, but also sites of their suppliers. And basically, whenever that happens, you lose visibility. And losing visibility has two impacts. First of all, you have no clue when this thing will return and when it will arrive, which makes it very difficult to plan production. But it could get even worse if you fall short on a certain element at a certain site. Production might even stop, or you could have too many of them and you have no way to stock it. So in that way, we have a direct impact on the efficiency of that production flow. And the approach is really simple. We attach trackers to all these assets, and then in the platform we give visibility at the individual asset, but also on the history of the asset and the fleet as a whole. So zooming out from one element to everything, right? And that's really the standard senseless use case. Right? I
have a feeling there's another reason why you like this use case.
I like this a lot because I know actually the site in Bruges really well because my mother spent her whole career on that site. And she was a doctor in the site, so I've been there many times as a kid.
Okay, that's nice.
Petite histoire.
All right. So, summarizing this use case, why this is a success story, 3 points we can mention?
3 points, no more manual handling, right? Everything which arrives and leaves is automatically checked into the digital system, right? Because we have created the digital twin. Full visibility to where your goods are on your own sites and at the supplier. And of course, you know at any given moment your stock levels at every site of every type of goods you have.
All right, interesting. This was a use case with suppliers. Let's go intralogistics now with Vaillant, and maybe Christophe, you can paint a picture here.
So first about Vaillant. Most of you will know it because most of you might have something from them in your actual house, and because they're the global leader in actually everything heating, ventilation and air conditioning. So they run 4 billion annual revenue on this type of products, which is a lot. They actually operate in 60 countries while they have 10 production sites a bit everywhere in the landscape, I would say. Now, what I like about Vaillant is they have a very strategic positioning. So they really work on reliability, they really work on innovation and sustainability. And this is actually a very good example, is they recently won the German Packaging Award because they redesigned how they package their product towards the end customers. And they reduced the packaging material with 25%. They also enabled with this to stock more than 30% more product in a single truckload. And in the end, it reduced for them 60% of the carbon footprint in the logistics. This really reflects Vaillant's vision. For them, doing more with less is a competitive advantage in the market. So it's this part, and then is where we really go into the project. We are at the factory of Nantes, one of the 10 production sites. And you have to imagine when you compile this type of product, you have all different small steps inside the factory, and you have to make sure that every step is well synchronized with inventory, rotation times, how fast things are moving, but also maybe some are bottlenecks, and you really want to monitor that as good as possible to set a type of digital benchmarks, because then you can change your process and optimize the process.
And how does this actually work in the factory? What we see on screen now is...
Yes, it's what made this as a big game changer for them is, you can say, let's digitize everything, and you put a lot of infrastructure, you start tracking everything, but it was the technical team itself. We gave them actually the tools, the technology to really go in their own expertise domain of optimizing the factory by very simple things. You see on the left of the slide, this is the type of logistic carriers they have. So they have, I think, only at Nantes more than 1,500 in place. And we put small tags, battery-powered tags, Bluetooth tags, that will last for many years. So very simple things, and then the carrier becomes a unique ID. But on the other hand, they have all those zones, discrete zones, we can call them, inside the factory. And there they put gateways that actually see which carrier is here with me. And they have it fully battery powered. So it's a very simple thing. They just put anchors and the tags, and suddenly they have a complete visibility on flows, inventory, and they can manage this all by yourself.
Like we see here on picture, like...
Exactly. Yeah. They get dashboards about inventory, flow analysis, capacity, they can do maintenance, so everything becomes digital in a very easy plug-and-play way without any infrastructure to be actually installed or wired. I think the success here for them was they get the data, they get the insight, but they also use it to actually bring it to their internal systems. So it's in their internal business intelligence, daily operations, and they use the data to translate it in real production value. Great case, and we love it that we have a plug-and-play technology inside a factory.
Yeah, confirmed by the client itself. You have Adrien who said that the solution is easy to install, and after a few months we already get a gain of 5% in the use of our logistic cards. So nice use case indeed. Let's bring two use cases together. So we had the supplier use case with Alstom. We had Vaillant with the intralogistics. Airbus is, I would say, the masterpiece of the use cases we can present here. Maybe Christophe, Airbus, many know them, but short introduction.
Yeah, so they're global leading manufacturer in the aviation industry, mostly on commercial aircrafts. We have been working with them since 2016. So we have been involved a lot in that supply chain and that intralogistics. I think it's for everybody very important to understand they have to deliver every day 3 complete airplanes. And you have to know that every plane has like hundreds of thousands of unique parts. So getting everything together is extremely complex. They have many sites, many subcontractors, they are all over Europe. And the type of parts, they can be very big, but they can be very small. They can be very critical, or they can be just many of them out there. So it's a very big puzzle they have to handle. As explained in the first case from Alstom, as Steven explained, it's about a lot of parts that need to come from everywhere at the right time together to build that plane. And there we put trackers on, and really the supplier management is what we really helped.
This is actually a nice visualization of what you're just saying.
Yeah. 100%. And even it's a simplification because the number of parts, it's immense. Yeah. Their main challenge is they grow. Airbus is growing at a high rate. They have a huge challenge to actually increase capacity at all those different sites, all those subcontractors, and get everything digitized so they can speed up in production while keeping that quality at the highest standard.
All right. Again, confirmed by our champion at the client, Maxime, who states that the flow of logistics data has increased significantly, providing greater visibility for daily operations, what you just mentioned. This is how it looks like. Again, similar at what we saw at Vaillant Group, but maybe slightly different. Maybe something to explaining.
There are quite some similarities. Yeah. So what we did at Airbus, Christophe explained, we've been a long partner of Airbus. We actually started with the larger entities and the intra-site logistics. Yeah. And over time, the ambition of what can be tracked has grown also to track items which stay within a particular site, but which are getting smaller and smaller. And that's what you see here. We have these hand tools. Yeah. And these hand tools are very specialized types of equipment. It's also a very regulated area. And so you need to use the right, you cannot just pick up any tool and tighten a screw. So in order for the production to work efficiently, the right tools need to be available everywhere and come back to their designated place. Again, if you don't track it, you don't know where they are, you cannot follow up compliance and find them back. Yeah. So what we did at Airbus is similar to the Vaillant from a technological point of view. Yeah. And we used the smaller Bluetooth tags which got attached to the tools. And then we have these gateways, battery powered, which are basically installed everywhere in the factory. And because they're so easy to install, you can basically fill the factory with them. And actually they work nicely as well in combination with the other trackers because they serve as indoor location markers too. So the Airbus case is really a nice case where the whole portfolio comes together. We use various types of technology. However, at the level above, at the platform and analytics level, it all comes together and it becomes data which can be acted upon in the same way.
Yeah, all right, cool. Confirmed by Romain from Airbus, what you just said. Airbus is deploying the Bluetooth tags, as you were mentioning, to track the specialized tools and it improve them to the inventory management, theft protection and asset location, and boosting overall productivity. That's what Airbus said. Thanks a lot, Steven and Christophe, for the insights on these use cases. Thank you for watching. Do know there's a lot of more content available on the website. We have white papers, we have track and talks, we have use cases, so go ahead and go to the website. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye-bye.